Did you know for The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug, Benedict Cumberbatch suggested writing and reading the necromancer's black speech backwards, and then having the editors reverse the recording to make it sound demonic and unholy? 2. The only time Legolas blinks is when he realizes he has been wounded, and when Thranduil beheads the orc he is interrogating. This is in keeping with the character, as the only time Legolas blinks in the Lord of the Rings trilogy is when he is strongly surprised. 3. During filming, Sir Ian McKellen had to spend several hours in a box, with nothing but a microphone and pictures of the dwarves for company, as the footage would be edited in to make him look taller than the dwarves, and was so upset by this that he exclaimed, "This is not why I became an actor." The microphone was still on, and everyone on set heard him as a result. In consolation, the cast and crew surprised him by sticking gifts and encouragement messages into his trailer. 4. Orlando Bloom is 2 years older than Lee Pace, who plays his father, King Thranduil. He also performs all of his own stunts. Did you know that for Groundhog Day, in the original version of the script by Danny Rubin, Phil Connors was already trapped inside Groundhog Day at the start of the story? We joined him on a typical day, with the audience wondering how he knew everything that was going to happen. Harold Ramis promised not to change this aspect of the script, but ultimately decided to do so. 2. The idea of Phil Connors reading to Rita Hanson while she sleeps came from Bill Murray. His wife drank too much champagne on their wedding night and fell asleep early, so Murray read aloud to her until he too fell asleep. 3. Bill Murray was offered a spit bucket for the diner scene where he gorges himself on pastries, but he declined. The angel food cake, in particular, caused him to feel sick soon afterward. 4. Bill Murray was undergoing a divorce at the time of filming and was obsessing about the film. He would ring Harold Ramis constantly, often in the early hours of the morning. Ramis eventually sent screenwriter Danny Rubin to sit with Murray and iron out all his anxieties, one of the reasons Murray stopped speaking to Ramis for several years. Did you know that for Monty Python and the Holy Grail, during the witch hunt, Eric Idle bares his teeth and bites down on the blade of the scythe he is holding? This was not scripted. Idle was actually about to burst out laughing and bit his scythe to stifle himself, so as not to spoil the take. If you look closely, you can see him shaking slightly, trying to keep his laughing under control. Sir Michael Palin can be seen hiding laughter at the same time as well, while earlier in the scene, John Cleese quickly turns his head to one side just before the shot cuts, though not quickly enough to hide that he has broken character and is grinning broadly. All three comment on each other's corpsing on the DVD commentary. 2. In the killer rabbit scene, a real white rabbit was used. He was dyed with what was assumed to be a washable red coloring liquid in the shots after the battle. When filming wrapped, the rabbit's owner was dismayed to learn the dye could not be rinsed off. The owner of the rabbit was present, and shooting was abruptly halted while the cast desperately attempted to clean the rabbit before the owner found out. An unsuccessful attempt. He also stated that he thought that had they been more experienced in filmmaking, the crew would have just purchased a rabbit instead. Otherwise, the rabbit was unharmed. Did you know that for Ice Age, the drawings of characters during the end credit roll were all done by the children of the animators? The same is true of the picture that Sid draws of himself on a cave wall. Sid's drawing was done by 3-year-old Will Scheffelman, son of a story artist, Dan Scheffelman. The story artist working on the scene was having difficulty drawing like a 3-year-old, so he consulted an expert. 2. John Leguizamo tried 30 different voices for Sid. After viewing a documentary about sloths, he learned that they store food in their mouths. This led to him wondering what he would sound like with food in his mouth. After attempting to speak as if he had food in his mouth, he decided that it was the perfect voice for Sid. 3. Despite the dodo's less than brilliant survival instincts, they outlived all of the major characters' species. Dodos were wiped out around the mid to late 17th century, while woolly mammoths died out 10,000 years ago. Ground sloths are widely accepted to have become extinct some 2,500 BC, and saber-toothed tigers were wiped out around 10,000 BC. Not even Neanderthals like Roshan and his father survived the dodo. 4. All the actors were encouraged to improvise as much as possible to help keep the animation spontaneous. Did you know that for Dead Poets Society, the scene where Todd Anderson cries outside in the snow was done in one take? It was originally an interior scene, but when it started to snow, Peter Weir thought the scene might have more impact if it were done outside. The snow was already beginning to let up, so it had to be done in one take. Fortunately, Ethan Hawke managed it. 2. Ethan Hawke's first impression of director Peter Weir was that he spoke funny. Weir was the first Australian that the young Hawke had ever met. 3. Matt Carey, the actor who portrays Hopkins and delivers the line "the cat sat on a mat," was a St. Andrews student at the time. He earned more than his teachers that year. 4. What attracted Robin Williams to the role of John Keating more than anything else was that he was the type of teacher he, in his school days, always wished he had. 5. Tom Schulman's script was partly based on his own experiences at Montgomery Bell Academy, an all-boys preparatory school he attended in Nashville, Tennessee, and his professor there, Samuel F. Pickering, Jr. 6. Peter Weir gave his young actors, playing the students, books that detailed what kids saw at the movies, listened to on the radio, and so on. A snapshot of life for teenagers in the 50s. Did you know that for Suicide Squad, to prepare for his role as Deadshot, Will Smith shaved his head and spent time training with Navy SEALs and Army Rangers, practicing firing a Glock 9mm handgun and an AR-15 rifle? Smith turned out to be a quick learner, particularly with long-distance shots using the AR-15. 2. Margot Robbie began training 6 months prior to shooting the film. Her training routine included gymnastics, boxing, weapons training, aerial silk training, and learning to hold her breath underwater for extended periods of time. 3. Margot Robbie did the majority of her own stunts. Writer and director David Ayer stated her stunt double spent more time sitting around in the trailers than actually performing stunts because Robbie wanted to do them herself. 4. Margot Robbie kept the live rat that Jared Leto sent her, and she even gave it a name. Rat Rat, she added. If Harley got something from Joker, she'd probably cherish it. 5. Jared Leto shaved his eyebrows in order to play the Joker, to make him look more deranged and psychotic. Jay Hernandez, who plays El Diablo, also shaved his eyebrows for his role, since his character was designed to have no hair on his body. For Hernandez, the choice saved him half an hour a day in the makeup chair. Did you know that for Spider-Man 2, when Peter flips over an oncoming car, Tobey Maguire performed the stunt himself? A stuntman also performed it, but Sam Raimi thought Maguire's looked more natural, so he used his instead. 2. If you look closely at Peter's apartment, you can see the picture he took of Mary Jane just before he was bitten by a genetically altered spider. It was supposed to represent the last moment of innocence in Peter's life before it changed forever. 3. Stan Lee originally filmed the cameo of the man who exclaims, "Whoa, he stole that guy's pizza!" But because of problems with the shot, it was refilmed with Donald Rawlings, and Lee was given a different cameo, playing a pedestrian who pulls a woman out of the way of falling debris during a battle between Spider-Man and Doc Ock. 4. Costume designer James Acheson made subtle changes to Spider-Man's costume from the previous film. The colors were made richer and bolder. The spider emblem was given more elegant lines. The muscle suit underneath was made into pieces to give a better sense of movement. And the helmet Tobey Maguire wore under his mask was also improved, adding a false jaw for better movement and magnetic eyepieces which were easier to remove. Did you know that for Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, rather than rely exclusively on CGI, Tim Burton wanted the 40 squirrels in the nut room to be real? The animals were trained every day for 10 weeks before filming commenced. They began coaching while newborns were fed by bottles to form relationships with human trainers. The squirrels were taught to sit upon a little blue bar stool, tap, and then open a walnut and deposit its meat onto a conveyor belt. Originally, Tim Burton wanted them to train 100 squirrels, but senior trainer Mike Alexander realized that was not realistic and talked him down to 40. Ultimately, the scene was supplemented by CGI and animatronics, but for the close-ups and the main action, they're the real thing, Burton said. 2. Johnny Depp once stated in an interview that he based his Willy Wonka performance on how he imagined then-President George W. Bush would act while stoned. 3. Johnny Depp signed on, without reading the script, to go with a completely different approach than what Gene Wilder did in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Depp said regardless of the first movie, Wilder's characterization of Willy Wonka stood out as a unique portrayal.